Hello everyone and welcome to IMRT Reviews. I'm RT and today we're doing a non-spoiler review of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. It's an extremely long title. I was very excited for this movie. I got to see it a day early, which is super cool. So let's get straight into talking about it. So the Conjuring franchise has always been a bit hit and miss for me. I really like The Conjuring 1, The Conjuring 2, and the second Annabelle movie, Annabelle Creation. But I really did not like any of the other movies, especially Annabelle Comes Home. I did not like that movie at all. And unfortunately, I wasn't a fan of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It either. The Conjuring 3 was directed by Michael Chavez, who also directed the film The Curse of La Llorona, which is a film I was not a fan of. I thought it was just generic, cliche jump scares. So straight away, I was worried going into this film, as it was no longer directed by James Wan, who is a very well-established horror director who just makes great movies. And sadly, my fears were realised. The first two movies directed by James Wan were extremely chilling and suspenseful. The imagery on screen was subtle, whereas this film just feels like sequence after sequence of just jump scares. Like every single scene would just start off with someone, okay, I'm just gonna go over here by myself, and then suddenly it'll be, like there'll be silence. There's not a single bit of like music in the background, just complete silence, and it'll just be them going like that, and then all you'd hear is their breath, because that's apparently scary, and then suddenly there'll be a massive bang. And the soundtrack would be extremely loud, and that's it. That is the scare. The scare is how loud the noise is, not the build-up to it at all. Because the build-up isn't scary, it's just silent. There's no like terrifying imagery or subtle imagery. It's just the build-up to the big noise. Or, alternatively, this is very creative, they had a pitch-black screen where you couldn't see anything. Like, I could not see a thing that was going on, and something would just appear out of the black. That is the levels of creativity in this film, and it was extremely disappointing. This is not how you craft a well-made horror movie. It's not effective, it's just lots of cheap jump scares, and I mean, anyone can make a loud noise. James Wan, in the first two movies, he crafted really creative scenes with, like the music box, and you've got the clapping scene. Not a single scene comes close. In the third movie of the franchise, like the trilogy, not a single scene comes close to the scene in the first one, and that just baffles me. Like, this should be the best movie there is. This is the finale, and it doesn't come close to the first two, and that is just extremely disappointing to me. And it doesn't feel like they tried. The most creative thing in this movie was a window scene that I've seen 1,000 times before, and it wasn't done as well as I've seen it in the other times, and it was just very disappointing. And I'm a big fan of the Conjuring movies. I love Ed and Lorraine, so I was very upset after this movie. What's even more frustrating is that they actually tried to take it down a different route, which I have to give them praise for, because they could have just done another haunted house movie, but they didn't do that, and I really liked that. But the execution was poor, and that's really frustrating, because I feel like there's a really good movie in here with a really good director like James Wan or David F. Sandberg, who directed Annabelle Creation. But unfortunately, we just didn't get a filmmaker that understands horror, and we ended up with this instead. And they abandoned everything that made the first two films good, and that was the simplicity of them. They went bigger in this movie, they went more powerful, more out of the ordinary, and it just took me out of the film because it just felt so silly, and I was like, what am I watching? It felt like a superhero movie at points. I was like, what am I watching? Truthfully, I was not scared once in this movie. The jump scares are so predictable that in the cinema, every time there was building up to one, I went like that as soon as one happened, because I knew when it was coming. And that is extremely disappointing, that they couldn't even execute a good jump scare. And when we should get the horrifying imagery, like the exorcism type parts that should really send chills down your spine, it was so larger than life that it just came across silly. Like I said, it felt like a Marvel movie at points. I was like, what is going on? This should be so scary with horrifying imagery that's simple and subtle, but it was just so big. I don't understand why they went so big with this movie when the first two were so simple. I mean, the second one did go a bit bigger than the first with the tree and everything like that, but this film went massive, and I just wasn't a fan of it. And saying that I wasn't scared once in this movie is kind of crazy, because I've always been known to be very scared of horror movies. I was like, I need to get this review, so I'm going to go by myself. I'm going to be brave. I sat in the cinema by myself, and I wasn't scared. If I was watching the first Conjuring movie by myself, probably would leave. It's terrifying. But this film, no, it didn't have that same effect that the first two had. And the writing in this film is extremely poor, as it's extremely unclear what the demon and the other antagonists are actually capable of. It seems like the writer just wrote things down and was like, I'm sure they'll be able to do that. That's fine. I'm sure the audience won't question it. But I was questioning it because I was like, can they just do this now? Is this a thing? And they establish rules of these things, and they just go against them at times. And I was like, there's no consistency in the writing or what these things can do, and it's just very disappointing. And characters do some exceptionally stupid things at times, where I was literally face palming in the cinema. The only redeeming sides to this movie are the Warrens, played brilliantly once again by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, and I can watch them on screen all day as the Warrens. They are so good. Very, very adorable seeing their relationship on screen. And they had a few cute moments in this film that I really did enjoy. But when you're watching a horror movie and the best parts of the movie are the cute little adorable parts between the married couple, that's not a good thing. I should be sitting here saying, oh yeah, the cute things are really cool, but the best parts were the scares. But with this movie, the cute romancy parts between Ed and Lorraine were the best parts. I didn't think I'd be saying that in a review of a horror movie. No, not at all. The film was poorly shot. Some of the scenes I could not see anything that was going on. I was literally trying so hard to see what was going on. Couldn't see anything. And it wasn't helped by the quick cut editing and some of the intense scenes. They just kept cutting and cutting and cutting, and I just had no idea what was going on. Overall, what could have been a great end to the Conjuring trilogy was a massive disappointment for me personally. And what could have been an extremely interesting movie, a different movie, was sadly poorly executed. Instead, we got a normal cliche jump scare fest that people were going to go and see, and it'll make lots of money, and then we keep getting more jump scare fests, and I go and review them and then end up sad on the internet. But you know, I still love going to the cinema, so it's fine. So let me know down in the comments below what your favourite horror movie is. And if you did enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.